Hello, all. Please have a seat so we can start the event today. دوستان لطفاً بفرمایید بشینین که بتونیم برنامه رو شروع کنیم. ممنون. Please have a seat so we can start the event. Thank you. Please have a seat so we can start the event. By the way, we are broadcasting the event online, so please ask your friends or family which are not here tonight so they can watch it online in our LinkedIn, Instagram, and Telegram of Persian Tech Network. Also, for the future event, please ask your friend which they cannot attend in person so they can watch it online and enjoy our event. And if they need any help through our community, they can connect with the like-minded people. Hello all, this is Mo from Plug and Play and Persian Tech Network. Thanks for joining us again this afternoon for another Persian Tech Network event. We are happy to host another one and the last one in 2023, and happy to see a lot of familiar faces tonight, and hopefully you enjoyed our fireside chat and the startup pitch again. By the way, from tonight, we start broadcasting online, so you can watch it online on Telegram, Instagram, and LinkedIn of Persian Tech Network. And if you have any friends and family and they cannot join in-person event for the future, please ask them to follow us on LinkedIn and Instagram and also on Telegram so they can watch our event live online and enjoy the fireside chat. The schedule for tonight, we have a startup pitch, and after that we have fireside chat with Martina and also Tara. Now I am just starting the startup pitch for the first one, which is the lead optic. So I'm inviting Reza from lead optic to come to the stage and pitch his idea and the success story in the lead optic.
Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you, Plug and Play and Amity Group for inviting me, and especially Mo. It's a pleasure to be here between people. At least they can pronounce my last name. Lead Optics, we are a medical device startup. So I'm Reza Khorasani Nejat, the CEO of Lead Optics. Basically, what we do is we leveraging an optical technology called metasurfaces. Basically, we can shrink optics 1,000 times smaller than conventional optics. We can go some places, especially in the body, that other technology cannot go. For the first problem, like any other startup, we need to be focused. Our main focus is for lung cancer diagnosis. If you look at the status quo, if they do manual bronchoscopy, the problem is the biopsy error is around 44%. You will hear a lot about the robotic system that solved the problem, but believe me, I have been in a lot of OR room with the best robot in the place. They still couldn't do a high accuracy biopsy. Our solution is we can make optics really small. We can integrate the optics and the needle, so we know where they're taking the sample, so we can increase the accuracy of the biopsy. Our team, as of today, we are 12 people, 10 full-time. My background is in an optics engineer. My co-founder background is in medical imaging. Our business model is razor and razor blade model. Basically, we have a disposable image-guided biopsy needle plug into an imaging console. But like any other imaging biopsy, it needs to be disposable because you cannot share it between different patients. So far, we have raised $7 million. We just closed our seed round a couple of months back. We have done our feasibility study both on human cadaver, but animal, both live and cadaver. We submit 3 patents. Next year would be an exciting year for us, so we are going to submit to FDA and start commercializing this technology. So a little bit more about technology. Basically, lung cancer biopsy have 3 major steps. First step is CT scan. It's a screening step to see whether there is any nodule. Most of the adults have a nodule in their lung. Doesn't mean they have cancer. Depend on the risk factor. They will do bronchoscopy. And that's where the middle one, that's basically where the battle of robot is happening. So INOV Intuitive, RS of Johnson & Johnson build the entire hardware and software system to navigate through the maze of the lung, get close to the nodule. That's where the problem is, and that's where we think we can solve the problem. So we are in the last centimeter delivery, right? Before taking the sample, we will increase the accuracy of the biopsy. Most of the world do manual biopsy. Only in the US they do bronchoscopy through the robot. 10% of the market is done robot. Still 90% is manual bronchoscopy. And the error is 44% and did not change during the last decade. There is a robotic system that can increase this accuracy, but they still rely on other technology. Like if you do ion system, you still rely on cone beam CT for last centimeter delivery to make sure you take the sample from correct place. So what we do is, normally they put the ultrasound in, find the nodule. There is not enough room in the lung. They need to take the ultrasound out, put the needle. Basically, they do blind biopsy. What we do is we can integrate optics with the needle, and we do not change anything in the procedure of the lung biopsy. Basically, exactly the same way that other people do. Put the bronchoscope in, leveraging the working channel of bronchoscope, put the needle in. Our needle in terms of shape, size is very, very similar to what other people does. The only difference is we can integrate the optics inside of the needle. So we will have a real-time image guidance to take the sample. And we aim to increase the accuracy of the biopsy above 90%. And how we achieve it is we call it metasurface technology. Basically, we combine advanced optical design and nanofabrication. So we can shrink optics thousands of times. So our optics is around 1 micrometer thick. So that allows us to shrink the optics. And because we're using nanotechnology, we have millions of nanostructure. Fortunately or unfortunately, we have a lot of degree of freedom to design this to be able to do imaging in different location of the lung. This is an human, this is an animal study we have done to show that with one probe, we can do image in different airway diameter. Here, airway diameter is 1.5 millimeter all the way to 6 millimeter. We can get with the resolution of 20 micron. To put it in perspective, compared to ultrasound, is almost 50x better in terms of resolution. Because our resolution is high and our sensitivity to lung cancer is very high, so based on literature in 95% sensitivity, we can differentiate between healthy tissue and cancer tissue. Image on the top is what we have captured using our imaging system. Image on the bottom is through the pathology. Basically, pathology is gold standard. They resect the lung, slice it, send it to the lab, stain it, put it under the microscope. This healthy tissue, it looks like a network-like a structure. Basically, it's an alveoli or parenchyma, we can call it. And we can resolve similar feature using our imaging system. The part of tissue become cancerous, become homogeneous, and we can resolve it in our imaging system in good agreement with pathology. The catch here is for pathology, you need to resect the lung, send it to the lab. It takes 2 or 3 days. There is another system called ROSE system, which means they bring the pathologists into their OR room, but it's still not scalable, versus we can do all of this in real time to make sure you take the sample from correct place. They still need to do pathology because they need to DNA test. But the catch is we can, with high confidence, take the sample from correct places. This is our system look like. There is an imaging tower. There is a disposable part. We will plug into it and do the imaging. So the US market for image-guided biopsy is around $785 million. And over the next decade, we're going to increase by 7%. And most of it going through the non-invasive procedure. That's where we are because the complication rate is much, much lower than other methods of doing biopsy. So next year would be a very exciting year for us. So we are gearing up to finalize our design and how they say it in medical device space to freeze the design, submit to the FDA, and start selling. And we actually started to build our own clean room. So a lot of people telling us, oh, you cannot build a clean room in the US. You can if you just change a lot of things in your supply chain and an assembly to bring the cost down with a lot of automation. We're raising our Series A next year. And the team is, not all of the team here, as I said, I'm an optical engineer. My co-founder is just have done medical imaging for a long time. Nick just joined us, our head of business development. We have 2 fantastic mechanical engineers. Together, they have 8 exits in medical device. They know the medical system inside and out, and we have 2 fantastic optical engineers. We build our own software in-house, which is 10,000 times faster than any other commercially available software. We can simulate the entire optics for medical imaging from the moment that image leaving the fiber and coming back to the system. We have a fantastic advisor. Paul Magnin actually was the first one to commercialize optical coherent tomography and for cardiovascular. We have a lot of doctors also, which will be interventional pulmonologists, will be use our device for the application that we're going after. So last round was led by Meta VC, and SOSV was our first investor. Every time we raise money, they give us money. And Sony Innovation Farm Venture fund of Applied Materials also invested. Because we're doing nano optics, Applied Materials is a great partner for us to scale our nano application. Yeah, thank you so much for your time. If you have any question, we'd be happy to answer. Oh, this is live streaming. Okay, so one thing about California is there obviously what we're doing is, but it is in California. But if you search, you cannot find any of them but you need to do animal study to make sure it's safe for human. Some of the animal study for cadaver healthy, we do it in our lab. We have it in a small animal lab, but that's cadaver. We just receive it in lung, not the full live animal.
How many potential clients do you have?
How much? So the trick in medical devices, you cannot even pitch to your customer because it's medical device till you get your FDA. But we talk to more than 20 physicians, and some of the physicians which are in our advisory, they're top 5 interventional pulmonologists in the country. They are the one that one of them was the one that just installed the second RS from Johnson & Johnson. And when we go to OR and talk to them, we can feel we're really solving a problem that can make a difference.
Do you think that your product is useful for an insurance company?
The biggest problem for any medical device is whether you can get reimbursed for it. And that's the biggest challenge. Then that's come to your value proposition. What can you do to convince insurance to pay for your device? One of the things we can do is, because today the accuracy of the biopsy is low, 60% of the patient need to do multiple biopsy. Each biopsy by average at $8,000 to the procedure. 19% of the people do multiple biopsy will have a complication. Each complication by average at $28,000 to the bill. So there is a huge incentive for insurance to adapt a solution with more accurate and less complication rate.
My question is not about your device. Actually, my question is about your networking. I saw that there is a diverse group of people in your network, in your group. How did you meet that? That's my question. Sorry.
So I try to be very honest with people. I met a lot of people. We pitched to 5 people. 3 of them were dying, and they just give us money. When I started, I pitched to tons of people. Tons of people. We were lucky, SOSV, believing in us after 2 weeks of pitching, and we get the first check. For second check, I shouldn't say it here, 2,000 call message for second check, very right. But for the last round was much, much easier because it's basically you de-risking your startup while you're growing. At the beginning, we were in a garage. Actually, we were in my garage in my home. People come, but just to tell you in a story, our device is rotating to do the imaging in the lung. On our first prototype, we couldn't make the device rotating. We basically rotating the object. And investors were asking us, does it mean the patient need to be rotated? But that was that's huge amount of risk for investor. So you need to, at the beginning, at least based on my personal journey, was a number game. Just increase your network. Then when they see with a small amount of money, I think with 50K, we build our first prototype. You can build things then that just give credibility. From there, your network increase. Yeah.
Thank Reza for your presentation. The next presentation is online presentation, and Sherwin will present his startup. Sherwin, you can start.
Hi, everybody. I'm glad to be here with you guys tonight and present Wishbone to you guys. Wishbone is a consumer engagement platform that we have been working on it for the past 4 years. And I'm going to give you a little bit more about. Okay, so the overview of the company, basically, the company was has raised $3 million pre-seed funding, and with that money, we fully developed the product and had a forum of 1,500 users to test the product market fit, and we established all the necessary partnerships to launch the product in the market. For launch, we are mainly targeting the retail industry and more specifically brick and mortar big box retailers, which they usually spend about $57 billion on digital marketing every year. The problem that they're solving for them, if you look at the past 15 to 20 years, these big box retailers, they have been consistently losing market share to digitally native companies like Amazon. And due to loss of the foot traffic, they had to close many of their stores, and many of them actually went out of business. This is the problem that you're planning to solve with them. And the other problem that these companies had during the past couple decades, they were unable to break past the traditional consumers that they usually got engaged. For example, Walmart with the motto of everyday low prices. With that, you just get people engaged who are looking for everyday low prices. With this platform, we are planning to help them engage more cohorts rather than the traditional consumers that usually engage with them. And the solution is that we are using a game as a conversation starter to bring people in and get them engaged. And while we have their attention, then we can in a very subtle way, nudge them to exhibit the desired behaviors that these brands want them to exhibit, whether it would be buying from them or giving them lead generation information, anything like that. And because of the type of interaction that we are creating, which is fun and rewarding, during the course of time, we create a little bit more consumer equity for these brands with these consumer, and it will, over time, lead to increase of the lifetime value of the consumers for them. The opportunity, basically, as I mentioned before, the retailers in the US, and these are brick and mortar retailers, they spend about a little bit more than $57 billion on an annual basis for digital marketing. And the beachhead that we are going after are going to be the 100 biggest retailers, which their budget adds up to about $50 billion. And from that $50 billion, with the revenue and license fee that we are designing, we are planning to generate about $50 million in annual revenue, which comparing to the total budget is a pretty small number. Let me dive into the detail and tell you a little bit how it works. Basically, the main channel that consumers interact with the platform is the app that we have, which is fully developed, and we have it both for iOS and Android. And the goal that we are striving for is to create at least daily engagement for the sponsoring brands with the consumers. So the app has two main tabs. The first tab, as I mentioned, is a game. It's a geolocation treasure hunt game, which shows where you are on the map, and around you, you see a bunch of boxes and wishbones. And you can just walk around, get close enough to them, and using the points that you have, you can pick up these boxes and wishbones. Boxes are basically instant win prizes that you can just open them right away, and either they're empty or you can win a low denomination electronic gift card from the sponsoring brand. So for example, if the Walmart is the sponsoring brand, you can just find like a $2 or $5 electronic gift card from these boxes, which you can spend online or in the store. And the wishbones are entry tickets to the monthly sweepstake that we have, which you can win bigger prizes like Apple Watch, laptops, or even a car. To be able to play the game, you need to have points and to spend the points to play the game. To earn the points, you can go to the other tab on the app, which is a feed. The experience is very similar to the feed of any other app that you use, like Facebook, LinkedIn, that you scroll, and each card presents you an opportunity to earn points from this platform. As I mentioned before, you can earn points by buying and sponsoring exclusive deals. You can answer lead gen questions, and we have a twist on the healthy behavior, which when you go through the registration, when you download the app, you get access to your health kit and we download the daily steps that you have. So if you hit certain number of steps on a daily basis, you can earn points for being active on that regard. The other health
Shervin, you have 2
aspect
minutes.
that I'm sorry?
You have 2 minutes.
What? With that, let's get to how you use these, the platform for the brands. Basically, if you win electronic gift card, you go to the Walmart store or you go to Walmart online store, which basically drives traffic, either foot traffic to their stores or their online presence. And if you buy any deal, you have to go to Walmart store to pick it up, which this way we are increasing foot traffic to their stores. The pilot that we had before, the results basically were very promising. We had about 85% engagement, and 30% of those engaged folks were daily active users. Comparing to the other companies, basically, I can tell you that we can just create brand loyalists. We can offer savings to people, and we are offering deals. And because of the gamification and the behavioral science, we engage more people and we engage them more frequently. And the engagement is going to be sustained, so it doesn't taper off as you go through the time. At this point, we are raising a $3 million seed round to launch the product. And the market that we're going after, as I said, is going to be the 100 biggest national retailers. And with that, I think I have everything. If there's anything else, I can provide information.
Thanks, Shervin.
No problem.
Okay. Thanks, Shervin, for presenting your startup.
Absolutely.
The next startup is Auto PCB. I'm inviting Caspian to come to the stage for presenting his idea.
My name is Caspian, and we're Auto PCB. We automate printed circuit board PCB design. Circuit boards nowadays are in quite literally almost anything electronic, from the lights to the exit signs and this clicker and many of the startups in this building. The problem is that circuit design is still a very manual process that requires a lot of time from typically an electrical engineer, to draw the schematic, select components, and this ends up being time-consuming, very costly as well. This fundamentally comes down to the fact that a lot of circuits have to be designed specifically for the application where they're being applied to, and it's very difficult to reuse sub-circuits across different applications and circuit boards. Auto PCB solved this problem by automating a lot of the circuit board design process by modularizing sub-circuits that can be reused across different boards. For any electrical engineers in the audience, this may sound familiar because this change already happened with the chip industry maybe 30 years ago with the introduction of Verilog and VHDL for designing chips, for designing FPGAs and digital ASICs. So what we do is we automatically will be able to select components based on a template of a sub-circuit and build a library similar to how software libraries allow software engineers to write software more efficiently. An analogy to explain this is similar to Wix or WordPress for building a website. You can drag and drop you can drag and drop modules on a website to build what you're looking for, and it will write the software, whereas in the past, one would have to hire a software engineer to build a website. In our case, if you need common subcircuits such as a motor controller, a battery charger, rather than design them from scratch, we can use a template. We can go to the suppliers and find out which components fit the criteria needed for the specific application, place them on the circuit, wire them up, and generate the board. We have a demo. We will skip the demo, but the output of the demo will be the circuit board bill of materials and the typical outputs of that a typical electrical engineer produces. And we've already built a prototype version of the software and had engineers use it, including some who actually had the board manufactured in real life and were able to start using the software and build a board in less than an hour. We've had a range of engineers use it, from hobbyists through professionals, built by us for co-founders who have backgrounds from all of the necessary backgrounds from electrical software engineering and graphics design. And we've had a number of advisors who've helped us as well. In fact, the motive for this project was that I personally had to design circuit boards in the past, becoming familiar with the tedious process, and became motivated to solve this problem among other colleagues. The circuit design software is a very large space, independent from manufacturing, which is a much larger space. And we're targeting primarily the prototype design market because it's more important for prototype circuit boards and low volume boards to design circuit boards more often and on a faster timescale. So currently we're developing the product for mature software users now, adding commercialization features, and we're expecting to complete this fairly soon. And the business follows a standard engineering software business model of subscriptions, but also integrating manufacturing. Another pain point that rapid turnaround projects have is actually ordering PCBs, worrying about suppliers, manufacturing, and integrating that with the software is a recent trend in the market that we also implement for automating the final end of the circuit design process as well, where the board needs to be manufactured and assembled. This type of automation has revolutionized a number of different industries. Wix is famous for making website design available to everyone now. Bubble has changed the app development with no code. We're doing the same thing, but for circuits. And again, for the electrical engineers, similar to what Verilog or VHDL did for ASIC design. We're not the only ones in this market. Fairly recently, there's been a number of startups that have also been tackling the same problem very recently, taking different approaches, some of them taking, for example, a fully programmatic approach. Our key advantage is that we stick with the graphical interface, a schematic interface that electrical engineers already are familiar with, reducing the barrier of entry, because the largest challenge of any engineering software startup will be to acquire new users. And if you have any questions, feel free to ask.
We have time only for 2 questions.
Yes.
We indeed use a lot of PCB. One of the problem in PCB, I think I can speak loud. So one of the problem we have in PCB is the knowledge, especially if you want to do high speed, the thickness, the material, everything. How do you fill that gap?
Yes, good question. So the goal is to have that information inside of the template module. So if you're doing, say, some circuit that has a number of differential pairs that are routed in a particular way, that information is included in the subcircuit itself template, in the template of that subcircuit. Just like a specific application information for a code library is included in the software implementation of that. Question?
Yeah. So with the time that you're saving, that's basically PCB design.
Yes.
Time, that the value proposition, the time of the development, right?
Correct.
So that should be in spite of or in expense of something that you're losing, right? So
Yes.
I assume that's energy power consumption or something like that?
The trade-off in this case is flexibility to novel circuits. So the motive for this project was actually that most subcircuits inside of a circuit nowadays are really common. Think like motor drivers, wireless interfaces. And the motive is that you can reuse these templates rather than having to create a novel implementation of that subcircuit. So this is a trade-off between that flexibility. We do have the ability to create custom subcircuits as well as part of the interface, but that's the trade-off. Great, thank you everyone.
Thanks. Thanks, Caspian. Now is the time for a fireside chat. So I'm inviting. Yeah, done. So I'm inviting Said to come to moderate the panel.
Is my mic working? No. It will work. Good evening. Sorry for the mix-up in timing, because I thought there were 4 presentations, all of a sudden there are 3. So I was caught off by like 4 minutes. But we are here, you're here, and I'm very glad that we have another fireside chat. Tonight we are having it with 2 remarkable women, both of them are authorities and pioneers in their fields. Well, we get to that, but before that, I have been told to encourage you to tell your friends and family that there is a streaming going on at the event tonight on 4 social media channels. It's on Telegram, it's on Instagram, it's on Facebook, and it's on Persian Tech channel itself. So if you take 30 seconds and text a friend of yours or a family member. I've been told if there are 200 people over here, each one of you text 200 people, we're going to have 4,000 people. So go ahead and take your time to do that. No, seriously, you can do that. Is that all the announcement we are going to have? Yes, and the chairs are set. Excellent. Let me get to my crib sheets, and I need my glasses. Like I said, tonight we have the pleasure of engaging in conversation with 2 remarkable women, both pioneers in technology and entrepreneurship. One is on a mission to revolutionize operational management using AI, drones, and a dash of futuristic stochastic processing magic. And the other one is the defender against the looming grid calamity, wielding AI to save the day from electrical disasters, be it man-made or nature throwing it at us. So get ready for a captivating journey into the future, the troubles that you may not be aware of, with these 2 visionary leaders. So for our first fireside chat, I now invite Ms. Tara Javidi to come on stage. Please join me in welcoming Tara. Oh. Could come over there. Go ahead and sit. Is this mic working? Yes, it is.
Excellent.
Tara, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you. This was the most exciting intro I have been introduced to.
I am so glad that you feel that way. Thank you for giving us the opportunity to learn more about what you're doing. Let me list some of the things that you have done. You are a scholar, a professor of electrical and computer engineering, the founding co-director and of Center for Machine Learning and Machine Intelligence and Security at UCSD. You're the editor in chief of IEEE Journal of Information Theory, and you're an IEEE fellow. My goodness, hopefully we'll get to all that. Let's see, our timing is over there. Yes, thank you. We can start the timer now. And I can't see it, so okay. Maybe we can put our chairs a little bit forward so we can see it.
I'd rather not.
Can I move your chair? We have to improvise everything tonight, yeah. Plug and play is right in front of the timer, so I can see it. Now we can see it. Excellent. Where were we? Let's start from the beginning. Where did you grow up and where did you go to school?
Oh, I grew up in Tehran. I went to, you mean high school or all my schoolings?
Well, we start from high school.
Okay, I went to high school in the middle of Tehran in the 6th Mantaqe, for those of you who grew up in Tehran. It's called Narges High School. So
There's some people going to Narges High School. That's interesting. Were you a precocious child, and what sparked your initial interest in technology? Were you were there specific experiences that influenced your decision to become an engineer?
So I was very interested in math, physics, and that was sort of what we knew. And engineering seemed the practical use case for this. I'd be frank. My mother was a fairly pragmatic, feminist, and told me, "What are you going to do if you, after a math degree, if after 4 years you decide you want to quit? It's much better to quit as an engineer and just sort of work than to have a math degree." So that was a compromise. I will start with electrical engineering, see where it goes, and if I don't like it, I could always go back to math. Sorry, Dr. Tabesh is sitting here. So really it was, before entering college, I really didn't understand that much about what engineering was about and how much I can use math. So then I entered college and I realized that I can do both. So that's where I ended up.
In your journey, coming to University of Michigan, getting a PhD, and becoming a renowned professor and a successful entrepreneur, were there specific individuals or role models that inspired you along the way? Did you have any tech heroes that you wanted to live up to?
I should say that for me, at least, it was an evolving sense of who my heroes were, depending on where I was in my own journey. When I was going through the process, I was looking at different aspects of what made someone sort of a tech hero in some sense. When I was younger, it was mostly their attributes in terms of how they could see into the future and envision things that were not possible and how they actually translated that. As I became a student, I was also very interested in the ways they impact through educating. Folks.
So who were those heroes?
So the original heroes were people I didn't know, and then the graduate school or Michigan Day heroes were faculty that I actually ended up working quite a bit with. The original heroes were folks you read about in books. So I would say, and I'm an information theorist, it's not a very unknown cliche that Claude Shannon, who took ideas that are purely mathematical and conceptual and really revolutionized the ways we think of telecommunication, was my hero. This is the farther out. And of course, as a student, a graduate student, I interacted with quite a lot of top-notch researchers who were continuing that tradition, especially in the two subfields of electrical engineering. Both my own PhD advisor, for example, was a pioneer in control theory, again, similarly using mathematical modeling and conceptual thinking to really translate it into engineering practice. That was very actual. And then folks like Andrew Goldsmith, who continues to be a great collaborator and a tech leader in the sense of both impacting engineering, drawing upon these mathematical concepts.
among your many remarkable achievements, there is your #1 ranking in concours at the year that you took it. So here we are. We honor that with a big clap. Of course, when I talked to you about it, you were very humble and said something like, what did you say? What phrase did you use? It's just a cookie that keeps you going for a little bit. What was the phrase that you used?
I said it's kind of both humbling and at the same time embarrassing that everybody refers to what I did when I was 18, even though I just turned 50. So I hope there were other things that people would go back to as much. But yeah, it's humbling, and I'm very grateful.
It's a great
for
achievement. It's a feather in your cap. You're also an IEEE fellow, and this one you've done for your contribution to stochastic resource allocation and active hypothesis testing. I tell you, it's a huge prestige to be an IEEE fellow, because especially as a woman to become a fellow, because this organization is male-dominated, and only 10% of fellows are women. I would like to ask you, what does this mean to you, to being bestowed that recognition in a male-dominated world?
It's a very important milestone in your career when you're an electrical engineer to be nominated and be elected as IEEE Fellow. So I felt very special, and especially it recognizes my work with my PhD students on a sort of a topic that really pushes the frontier in the way we think of building AI systems, and it pushes on the process of collecting data. This is this word active hypothesis testing. I'm very proud of that work that we did with my PhD students. I didn't necessarily, and being in IEEE, I'm very aware that the percentage of women is small in IEEE, but between IEEE fellow, being really happy and proud of it, and being a woman, I didn't put it together, the two together, and I don't have a very good answer to that question, but it might actually tell something about my strategy as a woman, as one of those 10%, is you try to focus on what attracts you to the field, the pleasure of creating and really pushing the boundary of innovating, and sort of sometimes you miss to notice these kind of statistics, this not very happy statistics that it's only 10% of women. You just put it in your blind side and continue to focus on the part that you really like.
It's very important. As an Iranian man who did not make IEEE, I congratulate you, and I say that we are very, very proud of you.
Thank you.
Tara, tonight we have a lot of dreamers here, ready to embark on their own odyssey of company building and world changing. What pearls of wisdom would you share with your audience, with our audience, about becoming a successful technologist and entrepreneur?
I think in general for me, and this is a very personal, I'm sure very personal decision on everybody's and personal taste. For me, it's really creating an environment that I remember the reasons that I'm doing it. And for every person is a bit different. I'm fascinated on an intellectual level by this question of how we envision conceptual for my work, for example, at the level of equations, really mathematical thinking, which is an abstract way for us to model the world, and then translate that all the way to an actual system that works in the actual physical world, impacts actual life. And so for me, that process is every day fascinating. And then the process to get there, which is building a great team and work with them and have fun, fail, iterate on mistakes you made in the initial ideation and correcting for that. That's sort of the practical fun of it. So for me, it's been like really keeping these two as the core sort of coming back moment. Because you do try, you first think I can do this thing, and then you try and you fail often, and you really want to come back to it and get at it over and over. again, it's very personal, I think, but for me, that joy of knowing that you will get there and working with people who are like-minded, they believe in you, but they at the same time challenge you with the right rate, that's been what I think would make a really successful process, is to recognize that you're part of the team, but at the same time realize that you have room to individually contribute to that process.
And for your contributions to the world, you're an expert in adaptive signal acquisition and processing, an authority in decentralized learning using a statistical reinforcement federated techniques. And recently you unleashed your inner entrepreneur founding your company, Sorter AI. So let's talk about Sorter AI. You want to use drones and AI to revolutionize operational management and problem solving. Your goal is to make this platform affordable and accessible to every kind of business. What motivated you to start Sorter AI, and what ingenious strategies do you have in mind to make this happen? What does it do?
Yeah, so first of all, I don't know how many people know the word Soter. Soter is the god of watching and observation in Greek mythology. So our work is about really building an actuated AI system that controls and optimizes and devise the process of data collection, the observation. Different groups are interested in drones. I think for me, the initial ideas were there. It was a really good system to really imagine if I have control over the process of data collection. Playing with drones is easy. I can fly them around. I can gather different kind of information. So immediately the question becomes what kind of information I should collect. So really it was trying to, at the very initial steps, was trying to think about this platform should be a lot more powerful than the conventional, what I consider the first generation AI systems, where you're given some arbitrary data and you're trying to make sense of it. This is, you can be deliberate about the data that you're collecting. So in that sense, this is a perfect platform. But I'm an academic. I'm conservative in thinking whether what I'm talking about is at the level of just an interesting intellectual curiosity, or is it something that will solve a real problem out there? So
and is there a real problem to solve?
Yeah.
Like what are the, for instance?
Yeah, so that's where my team comes into. So I'm going to come back to these three things: concepts, the team, and then solving an actual problem. So this is where I teamed up with folks to really look at what are the critical points of technologies that we think that they really are hungry in terms of data collection. And I think anomaly detection, as well as detecting environmental monitoring, like detecting spills, detecting fugitive emission of gas. These are technologies that you basically have lots of areas to cover for very rare events. You're really literally looking for the needle in the haystack. And that's where this technology can really come help you, because you don't want to collect data indiscriminately in these scenarios. There's just way too many land to cover. So for operational reasons, this is where this technology becomes really important.
So we're talking about a lot of drones, swarms of drones, right, typically. And then they go out there in the field of whatever, farm field or electrical grid field that we're going to talk about later. And they try to collaborate with each other, do learning, federated learning, and then come up with some sort of conclusion. What is your first go-to application that you're going to concentrate on?
Yeah, so it's environmental monitoring and anomaly detection for energy sector. So the compliance requirements for the environmental reasoning for energy sector, let's say refineries and production lines, is that they have to monitor their production lines in order to meet certain compliance targets. And that's where this technology can make a really big difference in terms of cutting costs and making that monitoring scalable.
Have you worked with drones before?
Oh, yes.
Yourself?
Absolutely.
Have you flown them?
Yes, absolutely.
And have you gotten data from them and tried to analyze those data?
Absolutely,
Okay, very
absolutely.
good. Transitioning from academia to entrepreneurship with Sorter is a significant step. It's a big change. Was this an easy transition for you? And what unique perspective from your academic background do you bring to Sorter AI?
So the core technology is based on my research, right? But I wouldn't say, you know, I'm not the kind of person that says anything is easy. You have to do it. It was very natural for me to do it because it was the right, I mean, this is very exciting. I'm sure people agree with me. If you are a computer engineer, electrical engineer, computer scientist, this is really a fantastic time to really push for technology solutions to do things that are really impactful. So in that sense, it was very natural to do. I wouldn't say easy or hard, right? And you're learning a lot, which again, if you take the negative view, it would be hard, but if you really enjoy the learning process, I'm learning every day different skill sets that as an academic you don't need to think about.
Sounds like you're enjoying it.
Yeah.
Decentralized learning, whether it's statistical or reinforced or federated, is an up-and-coming technology. It's not something that is established. What are the primary challenges and considerations when implementing decentralized learning? What are the problems? Data size, integrity of data, especially in a large-scale dynamic network. What are you anticipating?
All of the above.
All of which one are you going to go primary after?
So for us, at least in the context that we're interested in, is the fusion of, you will have different sensors, different cameras, they have different characteristics.
Mm-hmm.
So the real challenge is how would you actually put it together to build a cohesive, consistent, global understanding of the environment that you're trying to monitor. So that's really the core challenge of doing.
Where do you think the first challenge is going to be among all these many? Is it going to be data integrity? Is it going to be a device sanity? You must have something in mind to go after first.
Yeah, I mean, I think the first is to be able to come up with a cohesive picture of devices that are not the same. Right,
Okay.
and so you have to solve both of those, and you have to make sure the data that you're collecting is not garbage, otherwise garbage will be out. So the two will be indistinguishable from our perspective in terms of integrity of the larger data set that you're curating and such.
Okay, let me switch channel and ask a question about being a woman and a trailblazer in a male-dominated field. What advice would you give to women aspiring to make their mark in the technology, and any memorable moments and stories that you like to share about this kind of interaction that you may have had in your life? A woman in a male-dominated technology world.
How much time do I have? Okay. It's a really interesting question. I'm going to take a minute to just, because I feel like the way gender has intersected with my academic career, with my technology career, has evolved quite a bit. And it has changed with where I was, both in terms of learning as a student, but also where I am now. Mm-hmm. And I want to especially say this because I think it would be useful for the younger folks in the audience, that I feel like my student life was sort of very cut short. It was high school. I was in an all-girls school, like many others in the audience. So in an all-girls school, some girl is good at math and physics. Gender does not come into picture to think about that you are that somebody. Grew up in a family that was very, very encouraging of pursuing that. Went to Sharif 30 years prior to Zan Zendegi Azadi. Suddenly, gender was very important in ways that I could not fathom. And that gave me a sort of a sense of low, which I pushed and I got out in grad school and earlier career in my academic life. I sort of took that resolve from surviving that, okay, I can be expected to, think of my gender even though I'm in a class in electrical engineering, and turn that into building a network of team players. My friends originally, both from Sharif and my graduate school days, but also my mentors and role models, I really appreciated the way they actually gave me the environment to really push through that sort of low. And so that resolve and the resources that these two contrasting scenarios gave me really was what allowed me to really push through. By the time I was a professor, I was one of the two. In 2005, I joined UCSD. I was the second woman in the department, and I continued to be the second woman for another 11 years. So I was noticing it, but I felt like there's nothing I cannot take on if I have that network of and resource that my friends and mentors and collaborators brought to me, and the resolve that I got that I can really survive this. So in that sense, I would, again, really recommend for folks to go back to why they're doing this, the joy of it, and really building a good team. We were talking with a few of other people at the pizza chat, and that's what we were talking about, really this appreciation for the team and where they can really get you.
Thank you very much, Tara, for joining us tonight. We have time for a couple of questions, if there are some burning questions, and Arash has some question over there. Can you get a mic? Can he get a mic? I mean, yes, over here.
Hi, my name is Arash. And I'm so fascinated by your background and what you're doing now. So my question is about the morality and the ethics in terms of the gathering the information by drones. The drones is some of the new innovations which is not being regulated clearly. There are a lot of gray areas. There are countries using drones against the humanities, and there are countries using, or people using drones for the use of humans. So how it impacts in your own business model, in your own data collecting, in the smartness of your algorithm to consider the ethics and the morality.
Thank you, Arsha.
Sure.
Thank you so much for that question. Yes, I think the question you're raising arises in engineering in general. We work with technologies that have a very diverse set of use cases. And again, it's really a choice of the developers or the company. And this is the importance of having like-minded people on your team to decide on those ethical questions. For us, we focused on energy sector exactly because we really believed in, we really can make an impact on the environmental effect of these technologies. And you're right that there might be other business models around this, but our interest was really around sustainability. Can we really make an impact and use this technology to really address this pain point for compliance of the companies not being able to stop a leakage early enough? So you would just hear that there's leakage and there days go by where they don't know the source of that leakage. So for us, this was definitely a part of that choice of what we focused on as where do we use the technology for. But thank you for your question. I think it arises in all sorts of applications.
I think that's all the time that we have for the questions. Thank you very much. I take this. Thank you. Why don't you use the steps over there? Yes, it is here. Thank you. And for our second speaker, I would like to ask Ms. Apfush Matinee to come up on stage. Please help me welcome Matinee to stage. And this is your mic. Matinee, thank you very much for taking the time to be with us tonight.
Of course, thanks
We
for
are
having
very
me.
excited, and I have a lot of questions for you.
You set the bar so high. What I do have to say?
Let's see. That's first. Let me go through the partial list of your achievements, like we did for Tara. You have a PhD from Carnegie Mellon, where you developed AI for proactive diagnosis of energy systems. You have demonstrated leadership in developing full-scale machine learning software for energy and systems. And you have found market success in energy space. Abby, you've already built and sold a company, Wattline, which offered AI for optimal and time-aware operation of battery projects behind and in front of the meter. And you've started another energy company, Powerline, about which we'll talk more. And on top of everything, this is incredible, you're a mother of a 9-month-old daughter and a 5-year-old son.
Which I hope they're in bed right now.
I mean, the biggest question is, how do you do it? But we'll get to that. It's an honor to have you here with all these achievements. And I know you were born in Urumiyeh. How did your growing up shape you to become an engineer? What did motivate you?
At the time when you're, I don't know if it was everybody's experience like this, but I didn't know what is motivation and why I like things that I like. I always loved physics and mathematics, and the funny thing is that, as opposed to your mom, my mom loved me to be a doctor. So she was like, you gotta be a doctor because you're a very good student. So I actually went to Tajrubi for a week. I sat in classes and listened to teachers about like all these like animals' bodies and everything. I was like, I cannot do this. So without telling my mom, I changed my discipline and I went to math classes. And then after a while, I told her that, sorry, Mom, I'm actually like almost graduating from math school. She's a physician herself, but physicist, I guess, physicist herself, but she wanted me to be a doctor. But yeah, I always loved it, and here I am.
So, and you started your university education in Turkey, actually. You went to Ankara in the Middle East Technical University. What made you interested in civil engineering? That's what you studied over there.
Actually, I did my bachelor in Iran, and similar to maybe a lot of people, I didn't get much choice about like what I picked as, so I just like went through the list. I didn't even know civil engineering. I loved physics. I wanted to be a like straight PhD in physics that Sharif had. I didn't get picked. Randomly, I guess I had civil engineering there, and I picked. I know I sound very like, oh, randomly I placed, but that is how it was at the time. And I went into civil engineering. I enjoyed. I'm actually glad I got into it because after I started it, I realized there's a lot of physics involved, and that is what I really loved. And I enjoyed doing civil engineering math. In fact, like I started writing like notebooks at class that even now at my college in Iran, people I heard that people, like copies are going hand in hand. Then I went to Turkey for doing a master's there. And that was when I got introduced to a little bit more data-driven approaches. And because one thing I did enjoy about civil engineering was going to the field and actually like doing the work. So I wanted to be more like on the data side and computer side. And my master's in Middle East and METU was the path to do that.
You got your PhD from Carnegie Mellon in civil engineering as well. Did you have any academic ambitions, or did you know that you're going to start a company?
Not at all. I definitely thought I'm going to be a researcher, a like professor. Everybody around me thought so because I was good at doing it. I was good at writing papers. I loved doing research. I loved teaching. My childhood dream was that I'm going to be a teacher. So everybody was like, "Yep, you're going to be a like academician." But then I took an internship in a energy, but I always was interested in energy. I took an internship in an energy startup, and then that was a aha moment for me that, maybe I'm going to explore industry a little bit. I'm going to go back to academia later, and I'm still supposed to go back.
It's a trip you can take but never retake. You thought of what to learn when you were at Pittsburgh still in Carnegie Mellon, and that became a success and you sold it. How did what to learn influence your starting Powerline?
I guess for sure one of the reasons it's similar to, like, you know how they say like having a startup is like having a baby. Honestly, going through it is like giving birth to a baby, and then how you forget about the pain of giving birth and raising a kid. You forget about the pains if the company is success.
Yeah.
So the company was a success, and right after I was like, okay, what's next?
The
I wanna do
dopamine
next.
kicked in, yes.
Yes, I wanted another one. I don't know if I would have if it was not a success.
What specific lessons and insights did you learn from making and selling, what is it? Powerline was the second one. What
yeah.
What specific lessons did you learn that helps you form your next venture?
Actually, a lot. Even for myself, when I first started Powerline, I was surprising myself that, wow, this experience is so much different. I'm like the experiences of actually going through try and error of like doing something wrong and doing it again have helped me a lot. Now I'm like, I know what questions to ask. I know what numbers to look at. I know, I don't know what to expect. So especially at the beginning. Right now I'm at the point that I'm again back to that like hustling because we have passed that initial stage of Powerline. But at the very beginning, when I like launching Powerline, it did help me that I knew, like, look at my customers. What are the pain points? What are my numbers? Do a little bit of simulation before like going back to investors, and a lot of questions that I need to have answers for, which first time around I didn't know, and I would just like go talk to people and get embarrassed and that I don't know these answers, and I go and learn it. This time around I had my homework ready and I knew what to look at, so it did help me a lot. And also on the technology development side, I had already built and sold and commercialized a product from zero idea to all the way to commissioning on a project. So that path also definitely taught me a lot how to start.
Now let's talk about Powerline, the most recent startup. I mean, the second startup that we have. It's very similar to what Learn in a sense that it deals with energy and monitoring devices and also using AI to make sense out of them. But it has a much bigger scope. I mean, this is gigantic, especially when I went and read about it, about this, as I said, looming disaster, that the more you read about it, the more I read about it, the more scared I got. I don't know if people are aware about of this one. It's going to hit us for the next 5 and 10 years, whereas the remedy doesn't appear until 10 to 20 years. And we're going to slowly tell you what it is. We are rapidly switching to electric cars. How many Teslas over here? Yeah. And we are going from traditional fossil fuel to renewables. We're going to wind and solar. But in doing so, where we generate solar and wind is not where we consume it. So all of a sudden we say, oopsie daisy, you know, we have the energy somewhere else, we need wires. And we can't do wires overnight. And it's very, very expensive. So with the electricity grid facing a potential disaster, How does Powerline see itself contributing to the solution? What do you do?
You set a very good stage. Just to give everybody an example, if you remember last year during heat waves, the grid was shaking in California. You got text messages, please stop your ACs. And that is with 5%, less than 5% EV penetration right now. Imagine at that time, we have also like 100% EV penetration. Everybody is charging their EVs. In fact, we did look at some EV charging data, 45 EVs in Bay Area. 50% of them were charging at that exact moment because they didn't know anything.
Yeah.
They didn't have any incentives. So really, like the electricity grid is the most existential threat ahead of electrification of transportation. But we do need to electrify transportation because our lives depends on it, because that's the most emitter of CO2 in the world,
Yes.
in US at least. So how Powerline solves this problem is that we are synchronizing the EV charging and in future discharging, because you have a battery on board of these cars that can actually discharge and provide energy. So how we can synchronize that behavior with what is happening in the electricity grid. And just like a hint, a lot is happening at every second in the electricity grid. It's an extremely volatile network. It is very difficult to keep the lights on, and it matters if that synchronization happens. And of course, AI is to rescue.
So there is a technical problem over there, that you have all these shifting sources of energy going somewhere else, and you need to put lines there. Now, putting lines there is not only expensive, but you have to fight the regulations with local and state and federal government, which makes this project like tens of years.
Exactly.
How do you figure that one out?
Well, EVs move, don't they?
Yeah.
So they can move electrons from one point to another, while it takes 10 years and billions of dollars to build one transmission line. You can use like simply with a like very smart business model and incentives and AI that like optimizes everything. You can move electrons from one point to another that and solve not all, but a lot of that problem, at least delay that investment, buy time for the grid to catch up.
There's another element to this one. The industry itself is a cash cow. You know, they make a lot of money, the electrical companies, and they are resistant to change. I mean, if you go to them and say, you know, you need to put extra lines, you need to change, you need to go to solar, they would say, yeah, we put it on paper, or maybe we do it 10 years from now. So these three elements, it's not only technical. Are you optimistic that you're going to be able to make a difference?
Yes, obviously.
I hope so.
I'm optimistic, otherwise I wouldn't start the company. That is the definition of entrepreneurs. You have to be optimistic. But we are going to start what we can do and take it one step at a time. Thankfully, like behind the meter, by behind the meter I mean like at your home or behind the doors, not at a grid scale. Batteries and solar that you install at your home have already paved the way a lot for grid services that smaller appliances like EVs or other appliances can provide. So a lot of regulation hustle has been kind of solved, but there is still a lot more to be solved, and we are going to do one step at a time, what we can.
In your equations, does smart appliance have a role? In other words, appliances that could report their use or provide some sort of a schedule, excuse me, and even allow the utilities to control them from a distance, like turning your washing machine or laundry machine on and off at time. Do you consider that as part of your equation?
For Powerline, probably I don't. Probably maybe at some point we are like, oh, we conquered the EV space, might as well add the appliances. And there are solutions that do, there are companies that do cover appliance integration. For us, probably we are going to stick with EVs and larger scale batteries, just because you need less of them to aggregate to make an impact, as opposed to small like kilowatt size of energy that the small appliance can provide. So it's like easier to aggregate and make an impact.
So you don't think it's going to be necessary for a smart home to be controlled externally to shut it off or bring it down to 1/10 of the energy if the hurricane is coming and we are in danger of losing power? You're not going to work with that factor?
We will be working, at least the goal today is to work with the distributed energy resources at your home, including electric vehicles, solar, battery, perhaps heaters, so a little bit larger capacity, larger power equipment that you have at your home.
Let me ask you a question about being a woman in the tech world, the same question I asked our first speaker. What particular strategies had to be good at, and what were some of your solutions or some aha moments that made you realize that it's an advantage to be a woman in a man's world of energy, or is it a disadvantage? How did you deal with that? How did that affect? How has it affected your work?
Yeah. So at the beginning, when I particularly started in the energy space, it was difficult to be taken serious. I don't know if it was because I was a woman or because I was a foreigner or because I was junior or all the above, but it was difficult. I would go even as like a director of a company, go to a conference, and it would be difficult to be taken seriously. But my trick was to push through it. I was like, I don't care that you don't take me seriously. I'm going to keep pushing. And I'm going to prove to you that I'm important and you have to listen to me. Or I have an idea and I don't care that you don't want to hear me. I'm going to bring it up. And it worked, kind of. Or I don't know, maybe some of those factors became less important, maybe. But in terms of advantage, I think, I don't know, maybe I'm being too honest, but sometimes in some venues, when I talk technically and I know what I'm talking about, I feel like I get a little bit more respect because women are less known to be hand-wavy and they're more known to be factful and detailed. So when I talk about a fact and I talk about a certain technology or something, I feel like people can trust that I know what I'm talking about.
You earn your respect.
Yes.
Excellent.
This is no offense to men. I'm not saying, obviously men rule the world, but...
Maybe they should take a break and let some women rule the world. Martina, you're not just balancing the energy grid. You've got a mini squad of your own with a 9-month-old and a 5-year-old. How do you juggle the power plays at home while you're also running the show at Powerline?
Yeah. I'm not going to paint the picture that we can do it. It is very easy. It is very difficult. But I cannot stop life because I'm running a company, but I also don't want to stop my dreams and do what I do because I want to have a family. So what I do is just I sleep less and try to be multitask. I multitask a lot. I have sometimes 5 tasks at a time. My brain is designed to think about, okay, while I'm doing that, I'm going to do that, and then while I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. And just it works.
For my last question, I want to ask you, has your 5-year-old daughter tried to maximize your attention at bedtime and try to use some AI techniques to get more time out of you?
I actually think my 9-month-old daughter, she has an AI algorithm. The moment I put my head down, she cries. So I think she has a sensor or something. So.
Well, thank you very much for answering our questions.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
We have a few minutes if you have questions. Okay, over there. Can we get a mic to the gentleman? Please introduce yourself and your affiliation and keep your question to the point and brief.
Hello,
Hi.
This is Reza Kabi. This is my first time ever. For the past 3 years, I've been out of my house in an event among people. I've been working on an AI product for the past 3 years, so I'm not going to plug that in. My question to you, I think you understand, is that sometimes as a startup
Please
owner,
get the mic closer to your mouth because we
Okay.
can't hear you. Yes.
as a startup owner, sometimes you feel like you're working in a void, especially when you said, as a foreigner, you're talking to people, people don't understand you. And especially when you're talking to the high-level technical skills, people don't kind of connect with you. I'm very sure you've been through a period of life that you're operating in a void. You feel like you're operating in a void. Is that right? So when you're in that point, which I am right now, how do you push through that? How do you feel, how you build that network, how you reach out, how you get that, past that phase? Thank you.
Yeah, of course. So for me, what has worked is, as I said, like I just shut down that part of my brain that makes me feel like, this wasn't fun, or like I just go through it. I keep pushing, and somehow like I feel like the more I push, the more I'm like serious and basically serious about what I have to say and how I have to do. People take it seriously as well. I reach out. I reach out to as many people as I can. A lot of them don't respond. A lot of them do. Talk to as many people as I can. As one person introduced me to another one. One very good advice that at previous company I got from my mentor was, your idea only is as big as many number of people who knows it. So if nobody knows about your idea doesn't exist. So just don't be afraid of people stealing your idea, or like nobody's gonna do that. Nobody. You just have to talk about it to as many people as you can, and opportunities, just doors open. Yeah.
There's another question over there. There are two. Can you get the mic over there? Do you have another question or just one?
Hi, Martin and Jen. This is Neda. So happy to have you here tonight. My question is, can you tell us a little about the role of your partner in your success? Because I think the majority of men are expecting after you have children, you have to be full-time mom. And I think what you're doing is exceptional. And that's probably the reason that we have very few female that are in your level of success. So can you just tell us about that part a little?
Yeah, my partner in life is also my partner in business. So we actually, I don't know if it helps or hurts that we both work in the same domain and decided to co-found a company together.
He's the CTO and you're
He's
a
the
CEO.
CTO, yes. But it definitely complicates some stuff because we constantly are managing a project with each other, like whether at home, whether at work. But it makes him understand and appreciate that I'm not just like wasting time. It is difficult. Another thing is personality. Like he actually is advocating for me to do things whenever I feel down and I feel like, this is not working or something. He's the one that's like, no, you gotta do it. You have to do it. I don't care if it doesn't work or something. You have to do it. Yeah, I think he has a big role.
No, hold on. There's a question. Somebody just got the microphones. Go ahead.
Thank you so much. I know energy storage is the holy grail of the grid, so interesting that you're working on this. Question, I know that you are kind of using distributed energy storage as, I'm assuming, frequency regulation. Are you just using the level of charge, or are you using discharging of the EV batteries?
Yeah, with EV batteries, right now we are working with charging only to provide good services. But with energy storage that we also incorporate in our platform, we obviously do charge and discharge for grid services.
Thank you.
There was a follow-up question over here.
I have a 2 years old and kids really want mom. So how do you and I understand that, thank you. I understand that your partner helps and you collaborate together, you understand each other, but at the end of the day, there are moments that the kids like grabbing you and you're working on your computer and then she just closes your laptop and you're in the middle of like, how do you really handle?
Yeah.
And don't feel and avoid like, because you want to be a good parent, you want to for the kids to have the development, et cetera, et cetera. So how do you handle that?
Yeah, moms typically are the default parent. So like no matter how supportive your husband is, eventually like you are the one that typically are default when things go wrong with kids. There have been times that I literally like hold my kid in a meeting. I was like, sorry, like I don't have a childcare today, and I do take care, like have child help. But there are times that I don't have a childcare, or like the kid is sick or something. I just like bring them in the meeting with me, and there was times that I would be worried about that. There have been times that I actually try to hide that I'm a woman and I have family, or I may get pregnant and all of that, but not anymore. I actually am like, I wouldn't bring my kid to the meeting if I couldn't. If I didn't have to, and today I have to. Sorry. So yeah, I just like, it's a crazy ride.
Martina, on behalf of the Amidi Group, Plug and Play, Persian Tech Network, and the Iranian community, I thank you for taking the time and being here and sharing your thoughts.
I appreciate you being here. Thank you. Thanks a lot.
Thank you very much. Go to the steps. Yeah. Well, thank you very much. I think that's the end of the program, the formal program, but the networking program has just started. Please find somebody that may share your ideas, look for them, and try to make this networking as fruitful for you as possible. Thank you. Good evening.